Thank you everyone again for joining us for today's webinar, Creating Revenue Through Music Sync Licensing. It's part of the Tennessee Film and Entertainment webinar series hosted by the Arts and Business Council of Greater Nashville, supported by the Tennessee Entertainment Commission. My name is Jonathan Harwell-Dye, and I'm the Director of Programs for the Arts and Business Council. A little bit about us. We're a 501c3 nonprofit that provides business education, resources, and opportunities to the creative community. And we also connect the business community to the arts to foster creativity in businesses and to promote innovation. When you become a member of the Arts and Business Council, you join artists, art supporters, creative organizations, and businesses in cultivating our creative community, and you gain access to benefits like a subscription to our email newsletter, discounts to education workshops, reduced application fees for programs like our fiscal sponsorship program, as well as access to opportunities like the Artist of the Week on the Nashville Sign. We also do a special donor gift every year. So if you join before December 31st of this year as a member at the $30 level or above, that's our basic membership, you will receive a one-of-a-kind print from local Nashville artist Ashley Mintz. That print of a collage will also come with a QR code for a downloadable spoken word composition that she created to go along with the print. It's really cool, and every year we commission an artist to do a different piece for our members. So check that out. There's a QR code on the screen, and there's a link in the chat. Also, members get access to our volunteer lawyers and professionals for the arts, which is a pro bono legal and business services referral program that serves income qualified artists and arts organizations and creative businesses in the state of Tennessee. Our next VLPA program is actually a pro bono tax clinic that's going to take place in person here in Nashville in December. The pro bono legal clinic is an opportunity to get 30 minutes one-on-one time with a financial counselor who can help you with things like credit and debt management, as well as 30 minutes with a tax preparer who can walk you through like a Schedule C. If you have tax questions, check that out. So Periscope Rural Artist Development is a cohort-based artist entrepreneur training program specifically designed for artists of all disciplines living in rural communities throughout the state of Tennessee. Each year we select a group of up to 25 artists to go through 8 weeks of training as well as 6 months of one-on-one mentorship. And you can learn all about this at our info session next Friday on November 18th at noon Central, 1 p.m. Eastern. And now I'm going to show you a quick video from the Tennessee Entertainment Commission to share a little bit about the impact of the film, music, and entertainment industries in the state of Tennessee. So yeah, $6 billion. As you can see, the entertainment industries in Tennessee are a huge economic driver, and we really appreciate what the Tennessee Entertainment Commission does to support those creative industries and also for supporting this webinar series. Because we are in a time of rapid change in the entertainment industry, whether that change is how we consume music or how we choose to access film and television, it's no secret that streaming has changed everything, even gaming. And in the current entertainment landscape, music synchronization is arguably more important than ever for artists and for content creators. So in today's panel discussion, we're going to talk about how artists can create revenue through music sync licensing. And we've got an incredible panel of industry leaders here to share their expertise with you today. So it's my pleasure to welcome our first panelist, Barbara Hall. Barbara, please introduce yourself to the audience.
Sure. Thanks, Jonathan. I am I guess a Canadian transplant here, 25 or so years. Started in really just volunteering to work for free because I didn't have my green card yet. And I understood music publishing. And from there, once I was able to open my doors, we set up a Clear Cut Inc., which is a rights and clearance company, and that company has continued to grow and be very busy ever since. So I think what else can I tell you about myself? I'm involved in at several stages of film and television production, generally music-based productions. Have been doing that for 20 some odd years. Love the business. Um, I will say I think I love it because there is so little for sure. Everything is negotiable. Everything is, reliant on having relationships and working with people and um, being creative, even on the business end. So I think that's why I love what I do. I'm not sure. Quite often, our clients would say, I don't know how you stand what you do, but I love it. A film or project, a television project where all the paperwork is done and everyone has been paid and everyone's happy with their deal, to me is a beautiful day. So I don't know what else I can tell you. I am happy to answer any questions, but I think that's about it. Most of these ladies I have worked with that are on the panel, so they may have a little something different to say, but very happy to be here and very happy to be in Tennessee.
Thank you, Barbara. And I'm just going to go in the order that you are kind of at the top of my screen. So I'm going to introduce next Angela Green. Angela, will you introduce yourself?
I'm in Memphis, Tennessee. I'm an attorney by trade, and I pretty much have worked with independent artists for pretty much my whole career. But in 2014, I took over a nonprofit organization that was primarily a film festival, and I started to reimagine the vision of that organization. And so On Location Memphis is the organization, and our mission is we teach entertainment business through real life application. So essentially what we're doing is workforce development, creating business opportunities for these creative entrepreneurs to put the skills that they've learned in the different classes to actual use, make some money while they actually learn, which we know in the entertainment industry, on-the-job training is usually the name of the game. So we're creating a protective environment for them to do just that. The first program under that new vision was the Memphis Music Bank, which is a music licensing website for TV, film, and other visual media. We also kind of encourage our producers to pick up the trade of scoring, and we have different scoring master classes and such to go with that. Last year, we launched the Tour Club, which is basically a online networking site for all the creatives associated with putting together that film or visual media project. And in there, we have those tools, the video tutorials, the connections that they'll be able to make with each other. And then we do monthly live streams where we're talking to music supervisors, filmmakers, producers, distributors, everyone associated with making that project and getting that project to market. So so glad to be here. I'm happy I was asked to come back, and I'm looking forward to the discussion.
Thank you, Angela. And Terry Nelson Carpenter, welcome to the panel, and please introduce yourself to the audience as well.
Well, thank you. It's really awesome to be here with these women. They are powerhouses. So it's such a treat, you know. I am Terry Nelson Carpenter, and I am the CEO of Real Music Works. We're located here in Berry Hill in Nashville, Tennessee. And I'm not from here. I'm from Los Angeles, and that's where I started my career. I was the global head of music for Fox Family Worldwide for 15 and a half years, the director of music for MGM before that. And I started my career at BMI in film and television, working for Doreen Ringer Ross out of the LA office. And I have a degree in vocal performance and composition. So kind of craziness, and worked as an entertainment labor law paralegal. So I'm in both sides, got a foot in the business and a foot in the creative, which kind of, I think for all of us, it centers us. I know, you know, all of these ladies have various talents, and so I'm sure it's the same. You know, we are here in Nashville, opened up our new headquarters during COVID. So that's what we did on our COVID vacation. And we have a studio here and we are creating like crazy. What a fabulous environment. And I can tell you, it doesn't matter where you are in the world. Rock is rock, pop is pop, hip hop is hip hop, underscore music is underscore music. And you don't have to have a fancy place to start working. You just have to express your talent. And let me tell you, it's the music that speaks louder than words. So I look forward to this discussion.
Thank you so much, Terry. And our final panelist, Mimi McCarley. Mimi, will you introduce yourself?
I sure will, Jonathan. First, thanks for having me again. Before I tell you who I am, I want to just say, whoever is not a part of ABC, please get affiliated. I've learned a lot. I went through the program last year and learned a lot as a creative and doing business. And so I can't speak enough about the quality of program that they have for creatives and business. So I'm endorsing this. I'm a self-fulfilled advocate of this program. So please go sign up, get affiliated, get involved. Now for myself, Mimi McCarley. I have a company called Collab Music Network, and we're a creative development agency. We focus on full support for creatives. We start with songwriting in sync and developing a catalog for sync, and then we also help creatives release records because a lot of times they don't understand how to do that correctly and make sure that everything's in place so that they can collect money. And so again, so happy to be here. Great opportunity here in Nashville as people like Terry are coming into town and they're turning the music business up in Nashville. So excited. We're gonna have a great conversation and we're gonna empower some creatives with some music business knowledge as it relates to sync.
Thank you so much, Mimi. And thank you to all of our panelists for being here today. I'm going to start by asking questions just to the panelists, to the panel. Anyone can start and then, just respond to each other. We'll let this be a very organic conversation. But we'll begin kind of at the beginning. What are the different revenue streams that are associated with music synchronization? How are they different in movies, TV, streaming, gaming? Or is it all the same? And anybody can kind of start with that question and then we'll just go from there.
I'm going to chime in a little bit on film and television, which is really my area. And I am on the other end. So a music supervisor may be, so if it's an expensive film, a music supervisor may be selecting out, this is my wish list. These are all the things I want. Now I need somebody to go out and actually make it happen. And everything in between, to the point where here is a TV series that was on the air in 1995 and it has 500 songs because it has 300 episodes and we need to re-clear it for streaming. So we do all of that and everything that's in between. So the money part, a big expensive production like Grey's Anatomy, you were lucky enough to get a song picked on there. We're talking tens of thousands of dollars. To a re-release of an old series could be $500. And again, everything in between. So I am happy to answer any questions about that end of things. We do a little bit of music supervision here. It's not really our bread and butter, but we get called upon quite often. So if it's a new film that's being made and there's a desire for a certain type of music, I've pushed Mimi's catalog over to producers, film producers in the past and said, this is a well collected, organized catalog, well cleared. Here's something for you to consider. So
thank you so much, Barbara. Thank you so much.
Well, I hope there has been something fruitful with it. So that's just a little bit. I just wanted to speak a little bit about that. Ladies, I'm sure you all want to pick up from where I've left off here.
So I think when you talk about the different streams, for me, I think the first thing is the licensing fee. So when they actually license the music, you got that fee. And then when the music is actually placed in the actual project and it's put out there, published out there in the ecosystem, you have your various royalties that come trickling back in through your PROs, among other various ways. So That's what I'm thinking from the contract side. Your licensing fee first, and then your PRO royalties coming in from the different entities after that.
Mhm.
And I would add that, there are two parts. We have the underlying copyright and the sound recording. And I'll give you an example with the types of revenue that can be earned with just one license. And I'd love to give this example because it took us 2 years to get this placement in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. And our song was selected 1 week before release. They did not lock that until 1 week before release. And we got the main montage scene. And we controlled the song Come a Little Bit Closer by Jay and the Americans. And it was originally licensed just for that main montage scene where the good guys break out and they go after the bad guys. And it's the real turning point of the film. And then they said, you know what, this is working so well, we'd like to use it for the trailer. And we said, oh, okay, that's another option. Oh, and then we're putting out a soundtrack and we'd like it for one of the lead songs on the soundtrack. Okay. And then they said, oh, we're doing merchandise and we'd like to put it into a Groot doll. So it went into a Groot doll, and the final thing was with a brand partner, Doritos Chips. They took a cassette player in the limited editions bag and fixed the cassette player to it. When you press the button, our song came out. So in each one of those, you started with a sync and master use license because we owned both sides. Then you moved for just the placement in the film, and then you moved to the trailer, which garnered more performance and mechanical revenue. And then it went into the soundtrack, which was mechanical. And then it went into the merchandise, which is again a per unit, depending on, size, nature, scope of whatever that merchandise was. And then the special edition is a lump sum that's a marketing ploy. And it just depends on what your demographic is and what your whether it's a national or regional use. So meaning, is it for kids or is it for the broad spectrum of the audience? And so I can tell you that to date is our largest success. And that doesn't always happen, but 1 day later, after getting that okay, within 10 minutes, we got the license for Spider-Man: The Homecoming. So it can take you 2 years. It can take you 10 minutes. And you never know, but you can see how these things can really build up into something quite meaningful on many different platforms. And essentially licensing revenue, performance revenue, mechanical revenue, and lump sum marketing with those special edition, merchandise and marketing, plans. So yeah, there's lots to consider.
I want to add something. So, like, when you do data research and you see what Terry's stories illustrates is that with sync, the opportunities are limitless. Obviously, it's not easy. Everybody would do it, and that's not every scenario, right? That is a very special kind of like that's the holy grail of sync right there when she's just named. But the opportunities are limitless. Why? Because of the increase in content. So you have networks who have networks, and you have sub networks, and you have so many outlets for music, for TV and film. So advertising, license. So again, this is a really good part of the industry to hone in on, to really study, to really learn, because again, Terry said it may take 2 years, it may take 5, but when you learn this and you get active in it, it's a very sustainable career for the music business creator.
I agree with you, Mimi. And once they start using you, you become what they call a trusted source. When they know that your music, like Mimi's, she knows her metadata. She knows that her writer, publisher, and artist information is 100% correct. And I think Angela can talk about metadata. She's our queen of metadata. If you have somebody who's a trusted source, the user of music will always come to you because they won't worry that there's going to be an issue. And that's really important. You have to have all your ducks in a row. If somebody is singing on your soundtrack of your master, you need to make sure you have that agreement in hand that you either own it or they give you full right to license. I mean, control over assets is really key. What do you think, Angela? I
No, I
think
mean,
that's
you're
the biggest
covering it.
thing.
I mean, being able to follow the chain of ownership on that track or on that product is very important. And that's what you're talking about. Getting your contracts, getting your contracts together when you're recording it, making sure everyone who's contributing to it is under contract in some kind of way and they know exactly how they're supposed to be, making sure you have full administrative rights so that you can negotiate on behalf of, that track and deal with those rights without having to call someone else in to sign off on it. So all of that is very important so that you're in a position so that you can make moves. I mean, no one wants to come to you. No one wants to license a lawsuit. And that's just the bottom line. And that's really one of the issues with
No one
independent.
will. No one will. Like,
Right. And
Yeah.
that's one of the issues with independent artists is because they have not had the reputation of taking care of the business and having it all buttoned up. And so that's what we're trying to alleviate here, each one of us, in dealing with independent artists, because really, if they deal with independent artists, it would be so much easier because they're mostly one-stop shop. They own the composition, they own the master, they own it all. Yeah. And so to be able to go to one person and get one person to sign off on all the licenses that you need moving forward, that would be perfect. That's the perfect world. But if it's going to be, if it's going to be an issue at the end of the day because you can't find so-and-so who sang on it, who rapped on it or whatever, and you never did get them to sign off because they just happened to be in the studio at the time you were recording, then no one has time for that.
Yeah. Do you guys, I have a one-page work for hire for productions that I pay for that I hire people to perform on.
Mm-hmm.
And it gives me full right to do what I need to do with the recording. If I have a co-write, if one of my creatives is co-writing, which I think a lot of people listening probably do co-write, you both need to make sure that you can identify somebody who can really look after that copyright. Our co-writes, we try to get administrative right, because when you're pitching music for film and television, and especially if we're writing specifically for that, I'm not talking about placement with an artist or anything else, film and television, you want one person to be looking after that, because if a content creator gets it from multiple sources, they're going to think you don't control it. And there's going to be problems. It needs to be an exclusive deal, and at least one of the publishers or their representative needs to be agreed that they represent it.
And I'll chime in as someone who buys a lot and gets asked from TV and filmmakers, look at my list. Here's what I'm thinking about. Is there anything on here that you think is problematic? And having been at it for 25 years, I can say, this one, we're going to be digging under rocks and they're going to drive our MFN way up and they're going to be unreasonable. It's going to take forever to get a license. Go here rather than there. So, and we have to do that every day. And I'm here in Nashville and want to support independent songwriters. The other thing, when you have to deal directly with whoever the content creator is, it's very difficult to say, because we don't want to say, I'm sorry, your song's only worth 1,500. I know you want 15,000, but in this, that's a very hard thing to do. So it's always preferable on someone who's buying into that you're not having to deal directly. And sometimes folks like to control their own administration and be in control of their own destiny. Sometimes that can backfire and work against the content, the creator. I just wanted to point that out.
I'll say this for all the creators who are on the line. This may seem like a lot of jargon. So to simplify it, it's really, this business is about organization and preparation. Like if you can organize, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to write. You just have to document what's happening in these rights, because when you're dealing with multiple rights holders, it's just, again, learning the business. And so at Collab Music Network, that's what we've done, because I think everybody has spoke to the independent artist. It's such a viable market, but the one hindrance is the lack of knowledge in that market. And so what we do is, you know, with the independent creatives that we do support, we empower them with the music business because they need to know how this stuff works. Because you're not going to make money if you don't, in all the sources, in all the ways, if you don't understand how this works. And so, again, I don't want anybody to be overwhelmed with all the information. It's going to start simply for you as a split sheet and getting the information documented on the split sheet. Start with all the songwriters and listing everybody's name, legal name, not Ray Ray, not John John, but like their legal name and the name of the song and where the song was recorded. There are several things that you can find online that, you know, can give you a split sheet template. But remember, the split sheet only deals with the composition, right? It only deals with the songwriter and publisher, the comp side of the copyright. So you have to understand who owns that master recording, who's paying for that recording, who is it jointly owned? All of those things have to be documented to even have a conversation with, you know, anybody in this space. And so again, it is impossible to sync anything that doesn't have the details in the business kind of wrapped in a bow tie. It's impossible. So don't even try it. If you don't have these things, don't even approach a music supervisor. Don't do it. Just wait till you have yourself together so that you can present yourself in a very professional and a professional way to say, okay, well, I know business can get done with this person. I've lost early on in my career. I lost, again, just not knowing. And so again, take your time. It's not a rush. The music business is not going anywhere. Sync opportunities are not going anywhere. If you do the research, the market is booming. It's growing. And so take your time, learn, document. If you're writing with people who don't understand the business, you probably need to find a new writing partner. Because if they're not willing to understand the business, those songs are not gonna be able to be monetized. And so I just want to encourage everybody, this all is doable. This all is doable, one step at a time. Start with the split sheet. If you can start there, touch base with me for the next step. And I will help you. But it's not complicated. It really is a very simple, strategic process with a lot of organization and a lot of collecting data.
There's somebody who asked a question that I just have to answer because it's in line with what Mimi just said and getting all your ducks in a row. The Guild of Music Supervisors has a membership level called FOG, Friend of the Guild. And what you can do is sign up and become a member of the Guild of Music Supervisors, and they have a ton of educational resources for you to learn the trade. They even do mentoring with respect to young music supervisors and professionals. Also, I used to teach the International Rights Management section of the UCLA extension program, which also included synchronization in all areas of music. So that's another avenue where you don't have to be admitted to a major university, although you can go to one in their external programming and certification classes. And so this is there, and being involved in the Association of Independent Music Publishers here in Nashville, we have a great chapter, and it's a really awesome organization that monthly gets together and does educational and networking. And by the way, it's who you know, because when you're contacting these music supervisors and people in the studios that may use music, don't do mass emails. Don't say, hey, dear friends, you know what? You need to make it personal. So you need to do your homework and find out who these people are and address them as people. Because if it says, hi, friends, they're going to get rid of it. They're going to click it through into the trash. I can promise you that's what's going to happen. But if you take the time and effort to get to know who's in the game, it will definitely go a long way. Guild of Music Supervisors will be able to help you, educate you on who's in the game, who are the supervisors, who are the longstanding ones, the people in their mid-tier and those coming up. And then also they're doing your homework as to what television shows are on television and who are the supervisors for those television shows, IMDb, bunch of other, sources that you can go to be able to get this information. That's how you start. And you start building those relationships, and you'll start to get those people who say, yeah, I'd like to hear some. And then you're off to the races.
Well, to add to that, Terry, once you find out who they are, don't just send them music. Why don't you ask them, what are they looking for? Find out what's on their plate, because you may do R&B, but they're looking for rock or they're looking for country. So take that next step. You found out who they are. Now ask them, hey, what are you looking for? What are you working on? If you're able to tell me, let me know so I can see if I have something for you. And then if they let you know that, then you may have a little bit higher success rate, because now you're sending them something that they're looking for. I mean, you can send them great music and they'll say, hey, this is great music, I'm just not looking for it right now. And so, I mean, you can get on their radar that way, but even better, give them what they're looking for right then. Maybe you have a better success rate at that point.
Exactly.
I'll say this really
Sorry.
quickly. Oh, sorry,
Go on,
Terry.
Mimi.
I'll say this really quickly. A lot of times that information is published, is available. So again, the due diligence in this business is so important, because don't ask for something that you can find online. Like, don't waste people's time like that. Now, of course, if you meet them in person, that's a different thing. But again, the information is published. I used to wonder, like, oh, why is it this way? But now, being in the space and understanding how fast paced this is, they don't have time to give you information that's already available online. They just don't have the bandwidth. They can't do that. So they put these pieces of information out for us to consume. For us, again, it's all about being organized and strategizing. But yeah, don't ask what you can find online. Don't do that. Be efficient with the time that you have with a supervisor, or anybody who's placing for those projects. And I'll say this really quickly before I let you respond, Terry, is before that, like, does your music even work for TV and film? I had to come to a realization. A lot of the music I was pitching early in my career, it just wasn't good for TV and film. So I had to study, and I had to look at syncs that were actually happening. And I had to do a breakdown of a sync. Like, what are the components? What are the musical components? What makes a great sync? And I studied and studied. And I tell you what, once you know, and it will impact, what you do in those writing rooms. So it's just so much due diligence to happen before you're even ready to talk to a music supervisor, which is good, because when you finally are ready to engage people, and you got great music that actually can be clear, that actually works to sync. And now that's half of the battle.
And if you are known for a certain type of music, we have a great 10,000 Cuban copyright catalog. We also have a vintage music catalog through several different decades. And so when music supervisors reach out, they go, Real Music Works, I know they have that Cuban music, and they have that vintage catalog, so I can go there, and they have that in their system. And then I start giving them playlists of new genres, not multiple genres, but a single genre playlist. And they will tuck that away and say, okay, we know them already. They've made their name in these other ones, and now they have this new genre. We just had a songwriter camp where we wrote for Yellowstone and Monarch, and they are different shows, but still got that Southern rock, got that country, got that Americana flow in it, and we wrote very purposefully. And that's to Mimi's comment, that you really have to think about what it is you're writing. We had scenes for them to look at. We had most of them know those shows anyway, but we had specific things that we wanted to get out of it, so that the supervisors in both those shows would get the kind of music they were looking for. And so when we were in Mallorca, one thing that Michelle DeVry, the music supervisor, said, she goes, she reinforced this, and so did Peter Bradbury from Sky, said, those short playlists of single genres are very helpful. So not sending one or two, but send them 4 or 5 in the same genre and say, hey, we're really good at this. And they're going to go, oh, okay, because it's really focused. They can go, okay, R&B, that's it. Great, let's hear it. Or, Cuban, let's hear. We're in every dance show on TV, every dance show. And that's really awesome. So you can take your music and your expertise and sell it, and then expand. I love it. Mimi's smiling. She knows.
Man, I'm encouraged. I'm encouraged by this. I know that there's a lot of conversation happening, but I hope that you guys are, picking up what we're putting down. I know the struggle is real, but I tell you what, if we slow down and just do the work the right way, like it will make all the difference. We don't have to spin wheels in this business. It's a process to it. Just slow down, get it together. And then when you're ready to start pitching, that's a whole nother process. And we'll talk more about that. But, and here, these ladies right here on this panel, Barbara, Angela, and Terry, they're the real deal. I mean, I'm trying to get my music to them. So, but no, I speak from a creator and a publisher side. Like, it is doable, guys. And I've been doing this full time for 6 years. I promise you, it took me 5 years just to kind of untangle myself in this whole thing. And so it takes time, but the focused person who understands what they're doing will win. We'll win. And you can win big with sync. You really can. And Larry, I know your music, bro. You sync all day, brother. So holler at me after this call.
Mimi, I'm going to play the person who is out there and maybe, is trying to put the pieces of the conversation together. And I kind of want everybody to kind of correct me where I'm wrong, if that makes sense. Because you said start with the split sheet, right? Like who's there, who's contributing, what's their real name, what's their legal name? Let's get that information. Who owns the master recording? Is your metadata right? Are you doing your research? Do you know what's good for sync, what's not good for sync? Are you building relationships? Are you a friend of the guild? Are you going to the events? Are you meeting people? Do you know their name, who they really are? Do you know what they're looking for? What am I missing?
I would say make sure you got great, when I say great music, not just a great composition, but actually a great recording. So because it's different when you're pitching for, like, we're not creating demos in the sync world because the master use is going directly to the public. So it's unlike when you're working with artists and labels. Sometimes you're pitching a demo and it's going to be reproduced. We're utilizing the master, so it has to be market ready. It has to be ready. We don't pitch demos in sync unless you're working with a production company and you're sharing the process. But other than that, you got to have music that's ready to go.
And sometimes
go on,
there's
Barbara.
no rules. Sometimes, like I got a call from an ad agency that saw a group of women singing a song on a YouTube channel. They stumbled across it and said, can you find these people? We love this song. A year later, it was in a commercial that was re-upped for 3 years. And those ladies, and they had to pull it together really fast to get all the things that Mimi's talking about in order, because they were just 3 ladies that wrote a song and put themselves up on YouTube. So all that to say, sometimes stuff just happens organically. And then now, you don't want to plan for that. Oh, let's just, sing my song on the street corner and maybe someone will hear it. And maybe, you want to get your ducks in a row. But on the flip side, sometimes stuff just happens.
Yeah, man. Don't you love?
I want to add too.
I love
yeah,
that.
and I want to add too, when they talk about, are you building relationships? Don't look down to the relationships that are right next to you. And I love this story because Ludwig Garrison, he met Ryan Coogler in film school. They were friends in college and he scored his film projects. And then when Ryan Coogler did his first Fruitvale Station, his first movie, he called his friend and said, score this. This guy has basically been on his coattail all the way to the top with Wakanda Forever, which is out this week. So they built that relationship in film school when they were nobody and they were just 2 students trying to make it together. So when you're building those relationships, yes, you want to look up, but don't negate the people who are standing right next to you, because you don't know who they are going to be. And if you can build that relationship now, you all could grow together.
That is the most awesome advice, Angela, because, you know, a lot of artists here probably go to South by Southwest and other, you know, events like that, and interacting with the, you know, other musicians, interactive companies. And then there's the film component. You know, we're encouraging, we're sending a new team member to South by Southwest this next year. And we're encouraging him to talk to the new young filmmakers and say, hey, so what, you know, what's your vision? You know, what are you looking for in a music partner? And, you know, we'd really like to pay it forward. Can we do anything to help you as you're developing and all of that, you know, and have the young people talk to the young people, talk their language and get it going. You know, and it just starting to have that kind of, you know, relationship. I'm not exactly old, but I'm not young, you know, I'm not, I've done my South by, you know, we'll let it for our new team members who are just amazing. But the other thing is, you know, we're all on a budget. I don't know anybody who isn't. And when you're creating music, create it smart. And one of the things that we do for film and television is we have music songwriter camps, and they're very targeted for what we write for. And out of those camps, I mean, the most that has been written in one camp has been 16 songs. And out of 16, 14 of them were viable. That's a really good return on our time investment. And what we did in the very first one is we took a band into the studio. And I mean, these are, you know, Nashville, we're blessed here. Best musicians, best artists on the planet. And we brought them into the studio and we recorded the instrumental tracks for all 14 songs. And then we started working on the vocal tracks for the songs. So I will tell you that we're saving money. We're getting things done in a really you know, economically responsible way, and we're not just going song by song, because you waste money when you do that. So I would just, you know, you need playlists, not one or two songs, playlists of songs, and that's how you can aggregate it faster if you do that. So it just really
That's a very, I'll tell you, I'm the catalog developing queen. I'm gonna tell y'all something really, I've done this, we still do this today. Once you have these strategies, so like I love what Terry just said, so true, on a everyday strategy standpoint. When you go into the writing room, it's two types of writes, right? There's an artist write where you just kind of gotta write the story that the artist wants to tell. Remember, this is sync. So we're kind of writing a story that is already been told, so to speak. So we have to know what those stories are. If you're not blessed to have briefs are something that, you know, music production houses or music supervisors can provide you with, that tell you a little bit more in depth what they're looking for. Guess what you can do? You can see the trends. What are the popular trends that are being sought after or that are being synced? And there's so many tools online. Jonathan, I will get you a list of tools that I use where you can find out what is being synced. I look for trends. I'm a data person. I like Terry, I don't have time to just waste records, and, you know, the records are not going to make me any money. So I'm very strategic about what we create and why we create them. And so when you go in to the writing room, understanding that if you're going to do 6 to 10 songs and it's the same type of song, and like Terry just said, out of 16 songs, 14 were viable. That's how we want to do things. If I go in and I say, I want to do upbeat, feel good records, I'm going to do 12 of those, because based on percentages, maybe only 60% of those are going to be good or 50% are going to be good. But I'm going to give you a lot of upbeat, feel good music. And that's what I specialize in. And then so again, finding the thing, looking at the trend, all of that is relevant when you're trying to penetrate this industry. What they say, there's riches in the niches. So you don't have to you don't have to master all the genres. I've done that before. I'll tell y'all a story. When I came to visit Terry one day, I was so mad at myself, Terry. I don't even remember if I told you this, but I was meeting with Terry, and I was like, man, Terry's so dope. I want to go play her my music, and I played music. Now I'm a hip hop person. Everybody knows me. I'm a hip hop. I go into Terry's office and I play country music. And I'm like, why did I do that? And I was like, and she gave me honest feedback. She was like, yeah, it's cool. But it's a little underdeveloped. And I already knew that. And I walked away and I asked myself, I said, Mimi, why did you play that? Why didn't you leave with what you're great at? Because I assume I got in her room, she got guitars everywhere. She got like some major like stuff that lets me know that she's like rocking it in the country music. But I took a chance that was not successful. And I played her something that I wasn't an expert at. If I would have played her my hip hop stuff, which I sent to her later, but guess what? When you're in the room with somebody, you lead with what you're great at. And if I would have played what I would have sent her via email, me and Terry be doing business right now. I'm telling you. So learn from my mistake. Go be authentic and know your catalog. Know what you're good at. And don't try to be anything else. Riches in the niches. I don't know to this day why I played that record, but it's a lesson learned. It won't ever happen again.
Well, you have a beautiful soul, my dear, and I just loved your energy, and I knew that I had to see you again. So that was half the equation right there. And you just said, I'm coming back because you haven't
I
heard
told her. I
that.
knew I didn't nail it.
I love that. I love that.
I knew I didn't nail it with Terry, but I did. I thought about it, and I said, you know what? I'm going to send her some of my kick-ass music.
Hey, Barbara,
But
I wanted to ask something, sorry, Jonathan, do you mind if I ask a question?
Please ask.
Oh, Barbara, when you license, we're talking about making money with film and television and how we can do that. Are you seeing more option type of licensing, meaning tiered licensing? Like
Yes.
for me, when I got that thing with Guardians of the Galaxy, they kept adding and it wasn't on the original license. So guess what? They paid more
Right.
for each one. So can you talk about what you're seeing in your clearance?
Yes, absolutely. When clients come to us and they say they want worldwide all media perpetuity and they just can't afford that, and we know they can't afford that, we look at their budget and then we help make a plan. So what do you need right now? Right now I need festivals, and I know I have this, I have this streaming platform that's already agreed. I want to go to festivals or a limited theatrical, and then I have a streaming. But what I don't have international yet. So maybe you don't buy that yet, but you get an option for that down the road. Or I don't need, so we negotiate all of those. You have to buy something in order to get on a license. And we are seeing a trend that right now festivals aren't enough for some of the bigger publishing houses. But for several of them, yeah, we'll put together a step package. So if you're an independent filmmaker, you're making your first film or even your 10th film and you're working on a budget, you don't have to buy everything right away. We can pre-negotiate a lot of those. So, and then the other thing that seems to be happening, some of the major publishers are saying, when you reach this certain level of income, then we want more money. And so you're growing together as opposed to paying this big lump sum of money up front that may not work with your budget. So you can grow together. They're much more open to that. And because platforms are just, COVID brought out a gazillion platforms. If as long as they are affiliated with a PRO so that they're collecting on the other side, we have found several of the big publishers are willing to, again, grow with you. We'll take, if you have 20 songs and whatever, you say it's a concert, we'll take 15% of your income on a quarterly basis, as opposed to a flat fee so everybody's willing to take a little bit of a risk and grow with it. So yeah, we are seeing a whole lot more of that. Everybody's getting very creative in terms of what their license looks like. But yeah, unless you're a big major Hollywood movie with a huge budget, who can afford to give me this? What are you going to charge for that? We often can't give us a quote. We say, here's our budget. Will this work? Because there's no point going to a publisher or copyright holder and saying, can I have a quote on this? Sure, it's, $20,000. Well, there's no way we're going to be able to afford that. Our client is. So we put a package together of what works with their budget. And that, I think that at the end result is people appreciate that, because at least they know maybe we have a little wiggle room, but we don't have 50% wiggle room. So
Yeah, and you talked about MFN. What do you
yes,
recommend to the people here? Because I think that's a pretty important thing. I know
yes.
Jonathan's just about to ask that, so I jumped in.
Jonathan was. I saw that on the tip of his tongue. So most favored nations are pretty much the standard in film and television. Well, it's certainly in television, which is streaming and everything except major big Hollywood blockbuster type movies. But where everyone, assuming it's a similar use, everyone is getting paid the same. So I have 20 songs I want to put in my documentary. 18 of them came in on the MFN. These 2 were too difficult to deal with. They may not make the cut because, if they're not integral to the film. So that's just something to think about. I've seen deals go away, sadly, because they got because they were just too difficult to work with. So I'm not trying to say that. Again, that's kind of back to, it's really hard to say that this is what your song is worth, but to a filmmaker, that's
They gotta have
the
a budget.
reality. This is what your song is
Right.
worth. It's not
And
that
it doesn't mean,
critical.
it doesn't mean that it's worth it. Like, that's the thing with licenses, whether you're dealing with exclusive or non-exclusive, like if you own the license, you can relicense it to someone else. So
Right.
for creators, I think sometimes they're so emotionally tied to their music. It's a hard pill to swallow to say, well, that's only worth 15. Well, guess what you're making right now off of it? Probably nothing. So get yourself in the game, be humble, start low, and work yourself up. And remember that songwriters only get better with time. So if you have a record and it doesn't seem like it's not getting what it's worth, well, it's worth what people are willing to pay for it. And guess what? If somebody's gonna pay you $1,500, you can scale that to 3,000. You can scale that to 4,500. Like, you just got to stay focused and know that you haven't written your best song. Like, I'm
Or
not
you
married
can
to
just
any.
go ahead and do that 1,500 2, 3, 4, 5 times over.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
And that's the beauty of ownership. When you own your license and you have that right to do that, that's where you can start seeing exponential growth. But again, it's about making sure that you understand the license and how that particular work is being used. So, because you can't infringe upon your own right. You can't give somebody right then give somebody else the same right. So it does depend on the negotiating that license. I wanted to say this too. With the licensing piece, the licensing is just an agreement that specifies the terms of the use and how much people are going to get paid. And so again, it's nothing but an agreement. I've heard, especially if you're handling your own administration, like, well, how do I prepare a license? Again, Google it. There's templates online. If you don't have an attorney, just do your due diligence. But we're dealing with rights, and the license is a bridge between your rights and your royalties. So you got these rights because you make music, right? And then you got royalties that are associated with the rights, but you need the license in between those two to connect the dots.
Let me jump in here, and I want to plug the fact that we have the volunteer lawyers and professionals for the arts for the state of Tennessee.
Oh man,
Yeah.
Qualified artists can get help with your licensing and agreements, contract review,
yes.
songwriting agreements, recording
Y'all,
agreements.
ABC is the best. I've used this service before and got a whole year of attorney support. Listen, I am an upstart, so I have to be super efficient with my funds. And so ABC, again, provides all of these resources for creatives. So please plug in, tap in. The resources are there to be utilized. Like, let's blow them up to where they got to hire more people to service us.
So,
And I will say, not every deal requires an attorney. We
Yeah.
get, except for Angela's, I'm sure all of hers, But I'll tell you, a lot of attorneys they refer their clients to us because they say, they really don't
We
need
don't
to be
really
paying
need
us
them.
$400 an hour for this. It's really, so we end up getting a lot of attorneys referring their clients to us for that type of licensing, because it is, once you get a free attorney through the organization, fabulous. But it might be a little bit of overkill for some basic licensing. So I just kind
Basic
of wanted
licensing.
to put that out there. Yeah.
And
Yep.
can
And there was a
I say
question.
there's,
Oh,
I'm sorry, there's a book that is written by the Braybeck brothers, Todd and Jeff Braybeck. It is called Music, Money, and Success. And I'm telling you, it covers every facet of the industry. And they have sample agreements, sample everything in there. It's a green colored book for the most current, edition. But this is what it looks like. But
yeah,
it's
music, money, and
the
success.
newest edition. Music,
I like
money,
it.
success.
We'll
And
I
drop,
love
we'll
it.
drop a link for that in the chat in just a moment, Terry.
okay, great. And the other thing is that IMDb, a very good research tool. If you want to find out what music supervisors are doing, start looking up, some of the top shows on TV. Go to IMDb, find out who the music supervisor is, listen to the music from the shows, get an idea of the look and feel. We did a pitch to Nora Felder for Stranger Things, and she really loved our client Richie Ramone from the Ramones. And what was so interesting is that we really thought it would be a good fit. She also was very interested in just the instrumental side of his album. And they asked us for all of those instrumental beds and stems so that they could use that feel, that kind of funky punk, and it just, we were like, wow, that was a great fit. So
Yep.
things, I mean, when that's an artist driven project, but for that one show, it fit.
Oh, I'm so glad you just said that, Terry.
You need to get IMDb Pro now. Get Pro
Yes, ma'am.
so you can have
Yes, ma'am.
the
I dropped it
information.
I dropped it in the chat a little bit earlier. I'm so glad you said something, Terry. It brought up a thought, and there's a question in the chat I want to address as well. But this the thought of oh crap, it just left. But to answer the question, they said how much can an independent? It'll come back. But to answer the question, how much can an independent artist expect to make and with sync? I would tell you what, for independent artists that are not like don't have a really big following, for a sync for TV and film, you're looking at an average of $2,000 to $5,000. So don't be discouraged. I know that's not a lot of money, but let me tell you what is a lot of money. When you can build credits to your profile and you can become, it's like you build credits. And so the other thing I would say is I focus on advertising because I have found, this is my personal research, I found that advertising is worth more of my time. Like it just makes sense. If I'm going to spend time trying to make money, I'm not going to, me personally, because I work with a network of people, I'm not going to try to make $5,000. It takes the same amount of energy to go after $2,000 than it does to go after 20,000. And so I learned the different parts of the business, advertising. We just did a sync with NBA. We got a placement with NBA 2K, and the payout was like $4,000. But guess what? I had to split that 4 ways. So, I mean, I'm thankful for this. I'm thankful for every sync I get. But at the end of the day, people have to make a living. And so you have to be strategic. But for an independent artist who owns everything, that could have been, really beneficial for their career. So again, I like to focus on advertising. I like feel good music that make people want to go spend their money. That's what I like. I like to create that type of music that says, hey, get up and go spend some money.
Thanks because I think it's time for us to shift to Q&A. So folks, if you have questions, you can put them in the chat and we'll try to run through them. Mimi just covered one of those, which is how much income an independent artist or writer can make. The next question we have in the chat from Truth is it a good idea to place a published song on social platforms, or do agencies want unused, unexploited songs for TV film?
I personally am not a big fan of those platforms, and I think that they take too high of a price, and there's a ton of other music in there, and what makes you special is not really something that they're looking after. They're just there to fill up their platform. So they do have people who will, they do drive people to their platform, like Song Trader and there's a whole bunch of different, I'm sorry, my brain is like on Music Week fog right now. I see, I did say I was gonna, I was gonna blame that. All the parties, anyway. But you know, when you understand your music, you do the homework, or you get somebody that you know that is a music plugger, somebody that really can work your catalog. They will do the right type of marketing, and those contacts will become your contacts, and you'll be able to have, I think, a much better way of presenting your music. You know what? You only have one opportunity to make a first impression, and you want to make that right. And if you're sitting on a platform with a ton of other music, you may or may not be seen. And the thing is that you want to be able to be in a negotiable stance. So if you are on a platform, you are agreeing to certain terms that are not in the willing buyer, willing seller type of marketplace when you control your copyright, or you're working intimately with somebody who is a song plugger. So it definitely, I don't know, maybe you can add to
It's
it, but
tough.
it's not a big
You
thing.
know what? It's it's tough. So early in my career, I didn't publish anything, and we learned to a lot. I just had this massive catalog of like sync music, and what I started learning from music supervisors, not directly stated or explicitly stated, but like if it's generic, it's almost library-ish. If it's not out, so what I do is I'm strategic. I release music. The sweet spot that I work with creatives are, I work with artists and singer songwriters. And it's always like, what is a great song that you would release that also works for sync? We'll release one of those songs. Remember, we catalog in batches. So I don't just have, if a song is out, I don't just have one song like that. I have 10 of them. And so for me, it's just like it's so hard because everybody wants something different. So I just tried to build what I was building in a way that I can live in both spaces, because you never know. I've had people that told me they would rather have it published, and seeing that it's in the marketplace and gaining some traction. It's so weird out here in the marketplace, but I just try to make sure I can live in both spaces. And I got one record that's out and taking spoken for. I got 10 more like it, so don't worry about it. It's like it.
All right, let me
I'm gonna
run
send the
through
other
some
9.
other questions.
Is it okay if I interject really quick?
Well, I've got 3 questions in the chat that are ahead of you. So let me do those questions first, and then we can come to you. Okay. One of the first question is, how do you find music, the advertising syncs? Where do you go to find that stuff?
Same resources.
Same places.
There's one resource. Is it AdSense? AdWords? It's a resource I use. I think it's called AdSense.
Yep.
Okay. AdSense is a resource for specifically for advertising, and you can see what songs are being. Here's the other part. When you start doing this research, you're going to realize that what people ask for and what they actually sync, sometimes they're not compatible. So there is a creative intelligence that we must use in the writing room. And I'm a big proponent of trusting yourself and utilizing your creative intelligence, because I've looked at briefs and we've created stuff, and I was just, this just doesn't feel like it's right for what this is. So a lot of it, you have to, take it all with a grain of salt, but do the research, see how that particular advertiser or that particular brand, what they've used in the past. It's just like when you're looking at a sync for TV, you go look and see what's the sonic tone of that TV show. Has it changed from season to season? It's it's A&Ring, in the pub world, in the sync world. It's just do the due diligence and understand what's happening so that you can fit in, but also move them somewhere and innovate. So
Yeah, and it isn't just AdSense. Become a member of Promax. Go to the different types of conventions and meetings that bring people with in the ad community. Go online, do your homework. It's so great that we have online now. Can you imagine what people had to do prior to that? It's like, oh God, watching every commercial on TV and trying to catch who was that? Because literally, very basic. If you like a commercial, you like the way that commercial looks for that product, call the product developer and say, who does your music? Who's your who's your, call the brand, because a lot of brands and Red Bull is a prime example. They've taken all that creative in-house and they're doing it for themselves and others, mind you. And so, I mean, just calling the brand, saying who does your music, polite, hey, whoever the gatekeeper is answering the phone, do your homework, and just start and build your contact list and find out where they're doing things. Promax has a huge convention, and sometimes you gotta spend money to make money. And what I mean by spending, it's not only the creating the music, but it's also being in the places where people who can give you work are present.
Yeah, you gotta show up.
Gotta show up.
So the next question we have is from Stephen Knapp. He says, besides being personalized, what do you like to see in an initial contact from an artist or a manager looking to license their catalog?
Make it personal. Say, hi, Terry, how you doing? This is so-and-so. I'm this type of an artist. Go to the point, very succinct. And by the way, disco, this is a very easy thing. It's not uber expensive, but that's how we speak to one another. Don't send me an MP3 file attached to my email. It ain't gonna happen. But disco, send me a disco link.
And the link, yeah.
And I will be happy to listen. That's the kind of, make it real. Just make it real. You don't have to have some flashy whatever. Some people have some, funny ways of getting you to read their email. But I mean, seriously, if somebody says, hi, Terry, I'm so-and-so, I do this kind of music. I've got a disco link. When you have time, would love you to take a peek. And if you're interested, would love to hear back from you. I mean, that's just so cordial and polite.
And I would say this is one thing, this is a strategy when you're doing that, when you're reaching out. They say it takes 8 impressions before someone even pays attention to your name, like pay attention. So don't be discouraged and don't send all your music at once. Send like one thing that I do is I slow drip music. I send like two or 3 songs a week, just to show people that I'm working, my team's working, my production team's working, and I may have these songs already stockpiled, but it's just like, don't show all your hands at once, because if they like it and they ask for some more and you're like, well, you got it all. So and then that way you're also building a relationship. And I have a friend who has had more success with this strategy. He sends a song a week to this one supervisor. He met a supervisor and he was really fixated working with this one music supervisor. And for like 10 weeks, he sent him something once a week, 1 song a week. Hey, I just want you to check it out. Just got out the studio. And eventually there was 1 song that he sent in the rough stage. So that's what Barbara said. Like, sometimes the rules don't apply. It just depends. Right place, right time, right song. And the song he sent had a rough mix on it. And he was actually sourcing something that it fit for right then. Only why? Because he was familiar with his name, because he's in his inbox every week. And not being like short and to the point, not eating up his time, and just being consistent.
But it's not a one size fits all. There are supervisors who don't have time to listen to 1 song emails because their emails get backed up and they have a lot on their plate. So if you're not getting traction, in one way, try another way.
Try another one.
As I say, last month we were in that panel, and Michelle DeVries and Peter Bradbury both said that don't just send me 1 song, send me a playlist of a similar genre so that I can tuck that away. I can listen and go, yeah, I like this music, and that's Southern rock. Great. It's going into Southern rock. And I know that that's my reference file, because they have reference folders and they take from that constantly. And they will only put it in a reference folder if they think it's good music. So you gotta try a few different strategies. You just don't, like, I would never send Michelle DeVries just 1 song or 2 songs.
It's not one way to skin the cat. There's 1,000 ways to skin the cat, but the main thing is that do something, and if it's not working, do something different.
So Ariana Hodes asked, when you say catalog, are you referring to simply our collection of finished market-ready songs, or is there somewhere these are organized that looks different?
No, that's it. Okay. I would organize it in disco, just because that's where the industry is, the sync industry kind of is now. That's the preference. And so you just want to look like you want to play where the player's at.
Put it in disco. Got you. So Dr. Lee asked, are there any free legal clinics and seminars in other areas of the state like Memphis on music syncing and licensing? Angela, you're in Memphis.
Yes, I am, but unfortunately, I'm not aware of any free legal clinics here. However, you know, those who are part of the Memphis Music Bank, they do get access to me for free. So you can kind of, and we are open to music creators across the state of Tennessee.
Awesome. All right. Tranisha, you have been very patient. So I think I see your question in the chat. Is it best then to opt out of social platforms with your distributor? Okay. So yeah, that was an addition to the social media question. So if social media is not the place to post, is it best then to opt out of social platforms with her distributor? Or and then also, I start publishing LLC to transfer rights to the writer. However, I'm not quite sure what all is needed in the transfer agreement. Any suggestions?
I'm not
sure.
quite sure what her question is.
Yeah, I'm
If
not sure.
You have a writer and a publisher. If she owns her publishing, it's best not to just hold it as a writer. Open up a publishing company at BMIS or CSAC. Place your music in there and register it for you as your writer share and your publisher share. If that answers the question, hopefully it does.
No, I'm already registered with the PRO. I've been registered since maybe high school. So when it comes to anything that has been placed previously, of course, there's the publishing and the writer's share. But what I wanted to make sure of is that I actually owned my work under a publishing company because I'm not affiliated with one at the time. So what I've done is taken all of my works, all of my catalogs as the songwriter, and basically trying to do a transfer agreement where my now standing publishing company has ownership to those songs. So basically, if somebody wanted to come, I guess maybe, I don't know, maybe sue me legally, it wouldn't be myself that they would go after. They would go after my publishing company. But again, on top of that, just to make it more formal with an agency, if they say, hey, who can we contact if we want to use your stuff? Well, it's simple. Here's my publishing company information. It would still be myself, but it just looks more professional, if that makes sense.
Well, this is what I'll say to it. However you want to conduct yourself in that way, fine. Typically, a self-published songwriter is fine. Typically, you're going to affiliate as a publisher with multiple PROs if you're publishing other people. But if you're just publishing yourself, what you've done is fine. And then just doing a simple transfer agreement where you move the catalog from yourself to yourself as a publisher. I think you're on the right track.
I mean,
if I understand your question correctly.
If she's an entity, then I can see why she would want something in writing. If she's going to transfer her ownership to her LLC or her corporation, then she would need something in writing.
Well, even the LLC,
but it's with her.
Individual, there is a tie there, but having the corporate entity is the protection, if that's what it is that you're looking for. And I think Angela could be a great attorney to hire to do that.
That shameless plug.
Yes, shameless plug. Well, for us, we're an LLC. That's the right structure for us, but we're taxed as a corporation because of the level of revenue, and there are protections and all of that. So, we've received counsel by our lawyers and accountants on the best way to handle that. So that's why we structured it the way we did. So you opening up a publishing company, you can put whatever you own into that publishing company. You don't really need to formalize it, but if you feel like you do, you can, as a writer, say this music, which was previously under me as a writer, should be in my publishing. You already legally own it. So the fact that you place it in a publishing company that you own should not, and you won't have to have a vehicle for that. Because if you're BMI as a writer, you have all your music in there, you open up a BMI publishing company and you say, I want my publishing for these songs to be in that company, they're going to go, fine, it's you.
No problem. Yeah. I want
Can I
to.
just chime in here? If you,
Yes, ma'am.
one, yes, you really want, you had much, I would strongly urge everybody to be affiliated with a PRO. And then once you are, to make certain that your information and contact information is up there. I can tell you how many, I couldn't begin to count the number of deals that we've had to walk away from because we can't find people. Old information, dated information, not up
Yep.
there. And it just is too hard to find the rights owner. And it's sad. I hate it. It happens. And sadly, it happens pretty frequently.
We're gonna get
Yeah.
t-shirts that say metadata on it.
Metadata. I want
Metadata.
it.
Data.
Metadata.
Yeah,
I want to wear it.
affiliate and also register the song. So don't just sign
Yeah.
up.
Register the
Put the
song.
songs in too.
You need a
Can I chime in with one more
BIS.
thing as well?
Oh,
Sorry,
yeah,
can I
go
chime in with one more thing that people tend to forget? And I just always like to make sure everybody's aware. Public television is the only entity that can use your music whenever they want, however they want, without your permission. It's in copyright law. It's just the law. And so if you do find one of your songs on if it's a nationally distributed show, you should get a check. It's not very much, but as a publisher, you should get one if your publishing is a signatory to the Harry Fox agreement, which like thousands of them are. If you're not, you may want to consider that as well. But I know most songwriters don't really like that deal. It's nothing that anybody can do about it. It's the law.
The law.
Yeah, but
Yeah, I know we talked a
only
lot
in the
about
US.
we talked a lot about registering as a songwriter and a publisher, and primarily in the sync space. That money from that license fee is going to come directly from the production house to the copyright, to the rights holder, or if you have a sync rep, to the sync rep. So affiliating as a songwriter, I prefer people establishing and affiliating as a publisher. It just makes it easier when you're working with other people. To keep everything clean, just makes it a lot easier, and just be from the way that you register works, and they all have a different way to do that. The second thing is, for a lot of these independent artists, I know you guys are probably releasing music as well, so just make sure that you also have the other accounts set up as well. Mechanical License Collective, I know that's for digital, it's not really sync related, but get all it while we're here talking about it. Set up all the accounts, just set them all up, and you'll be good. And
The
then
MLC,
Angela brought up
yay.
the MLC, Mechanical License Collective, Sound Exchange. But Angela brought up a good point. People set up their account, but they don't register the song. So every song has to be registered and accounted for in order for it to be collected on. So again, just don't leave any money out there. Put yourself in position to collect everywhere.
And here's another reason why you want the writer and the publisher separate. When you create that award-winning catalog, and I'm sure we've got a ton of people here who are going to create great music. When you go to sell that asset, you keep your writer's share and you sell the publishing, you continue to get paid. If you can't bifurcate and you separate that out, it all goes. Now, if you want to sell the interest in your writer's share, you can do that too. But when people are talking about selling their catalogs, like many of the artists today have, they're selling their publishing share, and not everybody is including writer in that. So they continue to get paid as a writer. So really, that you just park your music as a writer in your affiliation as a publisher and your affiliation, and have a global strategy. And that's a whole other panel. I'm just saying.
It is, and we're almost at time. So I want to say thank you to everyone on this panel for this incredibly informative discussion. It's been wonderful. I want to encourage anyone who has legal questions to contact an attorney like Angela, but also if you are in
EPLA.
If you're income qualified, you can also get pro bono legal assistance through the Arts and Business Council. That includes a pro bono attorney helping you with your specific legal issue, or we do host legal clinics on a quarterly basis and a monthly basis, depending on the context of your need. But if you have legal questions, speak to an attorney in some way and make sure that you have everything set up correctly at the very beginning. Beyond that, I want to ask everyone, please, we have a survey, a satisfaction survey that we're going to share in the chat. We're also going to send you a recording of this panel discussion, link probably Monday of next week, and we will include that survey in that email as well. Please tell us how we did, give us feedback, let us know what other topics you'd like us to cover. But beyond that, I want to say, Barbara, Angela, Terry, Mimi, thank you so much for a robust.
Thank you. You're welcome.
I want to give one last bit of advice. Go and join NSAI or SONA, Songwriters of North America, because either one of those organizations will be a tremendous source of education for you as a creator. Just want to leave it. NSAI is the best.
I'm going to say one thing.
Right.
I'm going to say one thing in closing. Listen, believe in yourself. Believe in yourself, because when you truly believe in yourself, your actions will govern. They will follow your belief. So believe in yourself. And if
Don't take no for an answer.
Do the things to cultivate the real belief, like the belief in yourself and your ability. Everybody's talented. God made all of us. We're all talented. We all have something to offer the world. So just remember that and know that you can do anything that you really put your mind to. So don't be half button anything. Just go all in and get it done. You got this.
You got this.
Yeah.
I'm
Great.
going to respond to a couple of questions that are in the chat. Dr. Lee, we do not host a legal clinic online. We don't have an online legal clinic, but our Black-owned small business and nonprofit legal clinic is monthly, and that is by phone. So you do not have to be in Nashville for that. We do also in-person legal clinics on a quarterly basis, but an individual case does not have to be in person. So if someone comes to us with a legal issue outside of a clinic context, we can pair them with a pro bono attorney if they qualify for that assistance, and they do not have to be located in Nashville. That is open to anyone living in the state of Tennessee who has an arts-related legal issue. All right, so thank you everyone again. Thank you all for being here today.
Thank you, Jonathan. ABC is the best.
Thank you, everybody.
It's good to see you.
Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you, Barbara, Angela.
Thanks. Great to see everybody.
All right.
Thank you for being here again.
Let's go make some music. Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah. See you later.